Can you beat Devil May Cry only using guns? This is a challenge I bet a bunch of you have thought about or seen on YouTube. However, today I decided to take this challenge one step further by only using Dante's iconic pistols, Ebony and Ivory. Going into this challenge, I hadn't watched any videos, so I had no idea which parts were going to be difficult. However, I had a few ideas. I knew parts like Phantom in Mission 3 or the Death Scissors in Mission 6 were going to be difficult, but most difficult of all was going to be trying not to get arthritis from how much I had to button mash. Because of this, I had a strategy. I was going to try and get as many blue orbs as possible to max out my health bar. Now, before we start, let me outline the rules for this challenge. Rule 1. If I use any weapon other than Ebony and Ivory, I have to restart the mission. Rule 2. To avoid cheesing all the bosses, I was not going to use any holy waters or items unless I absolutely had to. Rule 3. I must start on a fresh save. Rule 4. Double trigger is allowed, however, if you guys want me to do this challenge again without it, let me know in the comments. Rule 5. No weapon upgrades allowed, including air hike. And lastly, this isn't really a rule, but I also didn't want to use yellow orbs as they would likely result in me getting a lower rank. Now with the rules out of the way, let's get into it. After watching Dante deflect a motorcycle with his pistols, I was feeling quite hopeful for this challenge. However, all that hope would soon fade. Anyways, moving on, I started mission 1 and immediately started getting blue orb fragments. All was going well. I had made it past the first room, and for the first time in my life I actually got the horse jump first try. But as I said, all was going well. Until of course I used my sword trying to get a blue orb fragment, and sent myself back to the beginning. Bruh. Clearly I had underestimated this challenge, as I was going to have to override everything I knew to be right about this game if I was going to succeed. So I restarted the mission, and thankfully this time I didn't use my sword. I then went upstairs and grabbed the rusty key, making sure to run past the enemies as I wanted to avoid as many combat encounters as possible. I was pretty much going to have no enemies during this run. Once again, all was going well until I met the first of many hurdles in this challenge. The runes. No. Wait. These were going to become one of my worst nightmares over this challenge, as the only way to activate them was to use my sword. Not even up to the first real combat encounter, and this challenge was already over. However, I wanted to continue this challenge to see the minimum amount of times you would need to use your sword. So against my will, I used my sword and activated the runes. Well, add 1 to the fail counter. Anyways, after that I went down to the basement trying to get damaged as little as possible so I could get an S rank. However, since I hadn't played this game in months, that was slightly unsuccessful. But regardless, I managed to clear out the basement and then the top floor with relative ease. And after 8 minutes I had finally finished mission 1 with an A rank. So I immediately spent it on blue orbs. As you can see, missions taking way longer than they should was going to become a common theme in this run. But moving on, I started mission 2, making sure to get Alistair right away for DT. At first mission 2 went relatively smoothly, until once again, I reached another fail. Now at this point, I was beginning to lose my sanity, as we were only 2 missions in and I had already failed twice. So I once again gave in and used my sword, adding another fail to the counter. I then continued on to the Sin Scissors, where I ran around in circles, dodging attacks and spamming until they died. This closed off mission 2, where I successfully got a B rank. And yeah, clearly I was rusty at this game. Now it was here that I decided to go for a purple orb, as I knew it was coming up next. I then started mission 3, and after taking out the skulls with ease, I proceeded back to the room to obtain the Pride of the Lion. However, before I could, I was stopped by our average spider in Australia. Now, as I said before, this was one of the few parts I knew would be difficult, as this Australian spider had skin as thick as a rock, meaning I could only hit him in certain places. However, I knew that if I kept my distance and taunted to get DT, that I would be able to exterminate this pest in due time. And I was right about this, until at the very end of the fight, I got fucked over by the camera and had to restart the mission all over again. So once again I ran through the mission and got to the fight, but this time I wasn't going to let myself fail, and thankfully I was able to get him on my second try. And with that I finished off mission 3, and once again got a B rank.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
Anyways, with what I believe to be one of the hardest parts of this challenge over, I bought another purple orb and started mission 4, only to be greeted by the fucking spider again. So instead of fighting him, I ran away. Yeah, go on, call me a bitch in the comments, I know you want to. Swiftly moving on, it was here that I encountered the next fail of the challenge. How great. So I once again gave in and used my sword, adding another fail to the counter. But now it was time for Shadow, who to be honest was really easy, as using Ebony and Ivory is a speedrun strat anyways. Now in the next room, I know what you must be thinking, isn't there a rune at the bottom which you have to activate to get up? Well, to that I would say yes, but with a little bit of speedrun tech, you can skip this and just jump straight up to the sword. And after inserting the sword, we are met by the Alpha and Omega himself, Virgil. Or rather, Nello Angelo, corrupted Virgil, which fun fact is actually a mistranslation, as his name is supposed to be Nero Angelo, meaning Black Angel in Italian. Anyways, I wasn't too worried for this fight, as most of Nello's attacks are quite easy to read, and so with relative ease I took down Nello Angelo, ending mission 4. However, I did get quite low towards the end. Starting mission 5, I decided to buy another blue orb as I knew mission 6 was coming up. Now this mission was one I knew I could get an S rank on, as it was the easiest one in the game, and that would be right if I didn't suck at this game. After getting a spear shoved up my arse, I decided to restart the mission to make sure I got the S rank. However, I then immediately got violated again.
Drop your pants, turn around, and lean forward. Okay. So how's this work? You just feel my pulse, so
So after restarting the mission for the second time, things went smoothly and I was able to kill the shadow without it penetrating my arsehole. I then ran to the end of the mission and got my first S rank. Great, if only it didn't take 5 missions, but oh well. I then bought 2 blue orbs and a purple orb, also making sure to grab the blue orb fragment at the start of the mission. After taking out the bugs of caution, it was now time for one of the most annoying parts of the game, the death scissors. Now normally this guy sucks, so pretty much everyone uses a holy water here. But this time around, I wouldn't have such a luxury, as Rule 2 clearly states that I can't use items. So not wanting to do this part over and over again, I got ready to lock in. But clearly I didn't lock in enough as I died and had to restart the mission all over again. However, this time I made sure to go into the fight with full DT, and thankfully this was enough for me to take him out. Honestly, this part was a lot easier than I thought. I was expecting this to take way longer. So moving on, I unfortunately didn't have enough orbs to buy anything because I was poor. But then again, I was once met by my worst fucking nightmare, the spider. So I ran again. I then took out the scythes and left the sewers, where I was immediately faced with the next fail of this challenge, another rune. So once again I was forced to use my sword to progress, and add another one to the counter. I then finished off this mission getting another B rank. However, I wasn't happy with this, so I replayed the mission, this time getting an A rank. Now it was here that I made a fatal error that at the time I didn't notice. You see, during mission 7 there is a secret mission that you can access, but to get a better rank you can do it in the intermission, which is what I opted to do. But I forgot that by doing this I would have to use my sword again to get back up, so I added another fail to my counter. Now you can avoid doing this, and so for the purpose of finding out the littlest amount of fails, I am not going to count this. However, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments and I will fix it in part 2. Now starting mission 8, I bought a purple orb and continued on my way. But then, before I could leave the castle, I was stopped by the spider for the 4th time. So this time, I made sure the thing died. Now I could say this fight was difficult, but quite frankly it wasn't, as I got lucky and he jumped on the glass 5 times. So after seeing my biggest nightmare get Thanos dusted away, I grabbed the trident and went into the next room, where I once again encountered another fail to this challenge. After trying to pull up the level with my guns, I gave in and used my sword, to bring our total to 5, with only the first act of the game done. I was then forced to leave behind the beloved grenade gun, and finished off the mission with a B rank. Swiftly moving on, I grabbed a double star for literally no reason, and made my way down the stairs, where I was introduced to the blades, but then because I'm becoming brain dead at this point into this challenge, I grabbed a holy water and made my way to the exit. And then I immediately grabbed another double star.
Bruh.
Clearly I was losing brain cells faster by the minute, and to further add to my declining mental health I then encountered another rune. Well, there's another fail. And then not even a minute later I encountered another fail. At this rate, Act 2 is going to bring my mental health to a whole new level of low. But moving on to the next room, I grabbed another holy water and comboed the fetishes into the wall. Also, don't ask me why they're called that, it makes no sense. Anyways, after clearing out this room I finished the mission with another B rank. How fun. And start mission 10. Starting this mission, I began to become worried as I realized this was the guarding light mission. However, it turned out not to be too bad as I could push the enemies to the wall, forcing the light to go that way. However, this unfortunately didn't mean I was immune from being scammed by the light.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
After that minor setback, I eventually made my way to the Blade Room, where I once again got scammed and accidentally walked back through the entrance, sending me all the way back to the beginning. After getting a scam train ran on me, I restarted the mission only to get immediately comboed by a marionette. So after restarting the mission again, I was able to get through with a slight bit of trouble from the blades. But once that was done, it was time for more of my favourite nightmare fuel, spiders. Thankfully these ones weren't as big and tanky, and so I took them out with ease. And after grabbing another holy water, I ended the mission. But now with an even worse rank, a C rank. And once again, because of this, I was too poor to buy any orb upgrades. So I started mission 11, and after getting a blue orb fragment and taking out this blade, I was met by another fail. How great. After giving in again and using my sword, I grabbed the Sign of Chastity and went and did the secret mission. I then went to the next room and used the Sign of Chastity, where I was then met again by Nello Angelo, so I started unloading onto him. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. There we go, that's better. Anyways, I made sure to keep my distance to avoid most of his attacks, until he eventually fell over and gave up. I then ended off the mission and got another C rank.
Am I a joke to you?
What?
I just want to know, is that all I am? A big joke?
No.
After failing to get a good rank for the second time in a row, I was still too poor to buy any upgrades. So I started mission 12, promising myself that this time I would get an S rank. After running past some marionettes and blades, I grabbed the needle gun and made my way upstairs, where I was met by a death scythe. Arguably better than death scissors, but still an absolute pain in the ass. Now my first time around fighting him I died and used the yellow orb to practice, but I ended up beating him, so I also wanted to try Griffin, who I also beat, as using Ebony and Ivory is a speedrun strat here. I then ended the mission to see what rank I got for reference, and I got a C rank. However, this wasn't so bad as I figured this was probably because of the time I took. Now knowing I can get an S rank on this mission, I restarted due to the partial rule 6, no yellow orbs. But then something tragic happened. While replaying the mission I pressed Y. Now my sword didn't come out, but I counted this as I did press the button. I then restarted the mission, only to do the same thing, again, and again, and again. Until I eventually stopped using one brain cell and completed the mission, obtaining an S rank. Now after 20 minutes of restarting, I decided to leave it there as I clearly wasn't performing at peak after spamming the X button for 2 hours. And I had also made it halfway through the game. So that brings us to the end of part 1. And how many fails do I have? Well, 8. At first it doesn't seem too bad, however when you consider this as a challenge, failing 8 times really isn't great. But anyways guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for part 2, which will probably be out like a week or 2 after this one. And lastly, I just want to thank Waifu Runs, Zero, and Dante Ravioli for the inspiration, as their videos really helped me make this one. So if you guys haven't heard of them, I would suggest you check them out, their links will be in the description. And without further ado, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.